Boom, and welcome back to another episode of Seminoles Sideline 365. I am KB, and as always, we are here and we are discussing what is to come on Saturday evening as we go on to face Clemson at home and what is to be another primetime game, which is disappointing because it takes up your evening. And I expect to see a similar result as we saw last week. You're once again in the heart of your schedule, the toughest part of your schedule, and you're facing off against a top 15 opponent that's looking for revenge against you for what happened last year in Death Valley. As you know, Florida State was able to pull off and get the monkey off their back from last year, and Jordan Travis and that football team pulled off an overtime victory that went on to allow them to have an undefeated regular season ACC championship. But this year, Clemson comes back. They're retooled up. They got some great young recruits on that team, and Cade Klubnik looks like he is coming into full form as they come into the mid part, the quarter part of their season. And that's bad news for Florida State because we're at the same kind of juncture right now, and we don't look prepared. We don't look. We still look at the bottom. We haven't figured it out. We haven't figured out how to play offense. We haven't figured out how to be an explosive offense at this point in the season. We still look lost and we're trying to find our identity at 5 games into the season. And that's not good when you're going against a top tier talented team like Clemson. And anyone trying to tell you differently that this game is going to be close, could be an upset, I think they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you hope behind a paywall, most likely, and trying to get you to get hyped up and try to get insider stuff. But anyone who's being realistic with you should tell you that this game shouldn't be close because it shouldn't be. Let's be honest with you. Last year, it was very, very tight. And this team was a lot better last year than it is this year. Better quarterback, better receivers, better performing offensive line, even though it had basically a lot of the same players outside a couple. But this defense, has lost a lot of guys, and they're not performing consistently the way we need them to. But this team is not the team as last year, as good as it was last year. And you're facing, I think, a better Clemson team than last year. So expectations should be set in that this game, should be, it's a 14-point spread, and rightfully so. The only good news for Florida State fans as we go into this is that we'll be able to get to watch a new quarterback and a guy, in my opinion, who's being thrown into, once again, the worst possible situation for himself in Brock Glenn. Remember, his first start was in the ACC championship game in Louisville on the road, and trying to save the season by winning that championship when Jordan Travis got hurt and Tate Rodemaker got knocked out, and he pulled it off. It wasn't pretty, and Wildcat was the game plan, and Brock just barely did enough to win that game. And I believe he was 8 of 22. He was, against Louisville, he was 8 of 21 for 55 yards. So that's where I don't want people to be selling you revisionist history about what to expect from Brock Glenn on Saturday evening. And I'll keep in mind, too, that he was a true freshman thrown into the spotlight against number 14 Louisville last year in Charlotte. He was 18 of 21. He was also sacked 4 times, which I think it's a pattern for this offensive line. Into this season, giving up the most pressure in college football, according to College Football Film Room. And I don't think that comes as a surprise when you look at the statistics here that DJ was getting pressured almost 50% of the time he dropped back this season. And how do you think that's going to accommodate a redshirt freshman quarterback starting against one of the top defenses in the ACC, if not the country, especially on the defensive line? I don't think that bodes well for what we should expect from Brock Glenn. Also looking at his stats, he then started against Georgia in another crap situation for him, one of the top teams consistently over the past 5+ years. And he was 9 of 26, 2 interceptions, and again sacked. And just tough situation. Didn't play the brightest. He had a couple of bright spots there, and you'll see those highlights regurgitated to you on Twitter by some of these Florida State pay sites. He was able to show that he has the arm. He can hit the deep ball at times. But once again, playmakers have to make plays. Playmakers have to make catches. And that's been a disappointment for this offense this season too. How many times has Morlock, not more drops, dropped the football? I mean, he had, in my opinion, the game-changing moment last week when he tipped the ball in the air, perfectly thrown ball in his hands, tips it up in the air, gets returned back, and you lose the entire momentum of that drive. You lose the entire momentum of the game. The defense falls apart after that, and you get blown out in the second half. But how many drops have we seen across this entire team, including Morlock? I mean, you can't do that to a freshman quarterback, a redshirt freshman quarterback on Saturday against Clemson because they'll make you pay for it. So this is why I'm saying this is that I don't want to sell you a false narrative and false hope against a very, very good Clemson team. Because once again, this is the first ranked opponent Florida State's going to be facing in the season. And we just have to go into this with the proper expectations of what could happen and what will likely happen on Saturday. So and let's get we can go through this a little bit and talk about him. What do I want to see from Brock? Because this is also the exciting part about Saturday, right? Is that we do get to see Brock play. We get to see somebody new at quarterback because DJU by far was not perfect. Immobile, not able to operate outside the pocket, made a lot of misreads with his eyes in terms of who was open. And who was available to him. Made some tough throws that led to interceptions. He was not effective. He wasn't effective, and I think that's a play calling thing. It's also a him thing, him just not being able to see the field effectively, feeling comfortable, and making the throws. And so this will be Brock's chance to show himself and to show the coaching staff that I can be the guy next season, and I can be the guy for the rest of the season. This is in fact his audition to be the quarterback for this team moving forward, not just now, but for the next couple of years. And it's for Mike Norvell to say, can I build around this guy? Because that's another thing we have to get out of the way is that, Mike Norvell's not going anywhere, y'all. People can say, he's gone, we'll find somebody else. He's got a $60 million buyout. Florida State is trying to buy itself, or was trying to buy itself potentially to get out the ACC. You think they can afford to buy out Mike Norvell too? No, it's not going to happen. So you're whether you like it or not, you're stuck with Mike Norvell, and it's up to him to adjust what he does around what he has. And he's got to figure out if Brock Glenn is a guy that can operate his offense and get us back to where we were last season. And so that's what I want to look forward to on Saturday. I'm not going in looking to get a win. I mean, I am. I always want to get a win, but I'm not going in with that expectation that we're going to upset Clemson based on what I've seen the last 5 weeks. But I want to see, does Brock make the right reads? Does he make the right throws? Does he put us in the position to make plays consistently? That's what I want to see from Brock. Does he look comfortable? Does he look like the guy? Does he look like a guy that guys will rally around? Or on the flip side, does he not look prepared? Does he not look ready to make the big play? And plays like that, plays just like that, is what I don't want, is what I will take and say, Brock made the right play there. He operated that play perfectly, and it was on a playmaker who didn't make the play. He operates that play call perfectly. Does a little fake out like he's going to run, pops the ball perfectly, a little behind maybe you could say, but the playmaker drops it. And that obviously can't happen on Saturday, but that tells me that Brock can make the throws. And if he does that consistently, that gives me hope that he can be the guy running this offense moving forward. Once again, another great throw. Only where his guy could get it. Once again, you have a weapon like Johnny Wilson, but you need guys on this offensive football team outside of Ja'Kai Douglas to make plays too, right? Somebody has to step up and be able to make these catches and make these plays. Because Brock Glenn wasn't terribly efficient in any of the 2 games he started, but I think you can see on some of these plays, if he's developed at all in the offseason, he has ability to make throws if given time. But things like this can't happen, and they will happen on Saturday. Offensive line breakdown. This offensive line has to step up. They have to do something. They cannot let him just get sacked within a second and a half. Or the offense needs to be tailored around him so that he can get the ball in his hands. I mean, I think there's a very good shot on Saturday that we see 50% of the play calls will be Wildcat. And they're not going to work like they did against Louisville. I can tell you that. You're not going to be able to Wildcat your way to a victory against Clemson. I'm very, very sure about that. I'd rather go out swinging like a regular football team than try to trick our way into keeping this a 21-point game. I'd rather let Brock operate how you would a normal offense or an offense tailored to his skill set than try to run Toafili 35 times out of the Wildcat. Because that doesn't tell you what you can do with this team and the personnel you have. That's just creating a gadget offense for a one matchup. That doesn't show you have faith in Brock Glenn, right? If you go out there and the Wildcat last year in the title game, you had to do it because once again, Brock was thrust into that as a true freshman, and he wasn't preparing for that. He was third string behind Tate. But now all season, he's been competing for second string. Another drop, another drop by Morlock. But this season, he has been competing for second string. He has been preparing for this position. So to go out there and wildcat your way across the field, I think is a disservice to him and what he's been doing all season long. You should believe in his ability to operate this offense and throw it down the football field. And if you don't, then he shouldn't be in the game. If you don't think he can go out there and make the throws like a proper quarterback and operate with his legs and make plays with his athleticism, then don't put him out there. Put Luke or Trevor Jackson out there. And if Mike Norvell has no faith in any of these quarterbacks, well, that's just a statement to what he's built, and which Coach, Tark and all these guys have built. But I want to go down swinging and see what Brock Glenn has. And if he looks terrible, heaven forbid he looks terrible and like there's been no development from last year, because he'll be under immense pressure against this Clemson defense and their front four, then I don't know if you go to the next guy. I don't know what the leash is for your backup quarterback at this point. That's the biggest thing I'm internally battling with is how much leash do you give Brock Glenn before? And that's the thing, things we don't see in the background. These are the things that the insiders aren't telling us. They don't tell us how close the backup quarterback conversation is. Is Luke ready to be on the field? I mean, we see true freshmen across the country, a couple of them, getting playing time. Look at the kid in Nebraska. Is Luke, does he have the ability to step on the field yet? Does Trevor Jackson have the ability to step on the field? I think it's a little too far-fetched to say that. But if they do we give them a shot, or do we need to give Brock the proper chance to show what he has? Because so far, Mike Norvell has not given him great opportunities, to be honest with you. Every matchup he started with has been a top 15 matchup, right? And it's been terrible for him to have to develop and basically face the fire every single week. And so, yeah, that's the biggest question. I think you have to, and ultimately, and as I said, I debate on this question. I think you have to give him a wide leash, and you have to allow him to make mistakes. And if he goes out there and throws 3 interceptions, it's a tough game. He'll learn from it. I think you have to give him 3-4 games before you decide, okay, well, he's not ready for it, and we move on to someone else. But you have to give this kid multiple games, even if he struggles, to at least show you some sample size of what he has. To show some sample size. Because, throws like that are so close. Can he get that locked in? Can he get that locked in when we see that tomorrow? Things like that are so close. That's where I want to see. I mean, that's true freshman year, but I want to see how far he's grown since this game last season. operating out of the pocket like that. I mean, that's something we couldn't do with DJ. Let's be honest. That's something DJ couldn't consistently deliver on. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm excited for Luke or Brock and his opportunity here. Once again, like this is what I'm excited for. That's what I'm excited to see. And obviously, we've seen these clips of this one throw probably a million times on Twitter, but that's what I'm excited to see from him. This was an Elite 11 kid. You know, this is someone that Mike Norvell and the staff handpicked along with Luke to come in. And at this point, Brock should be ready to compete and he should be ready to step on the field. There's no excuse about, well, he's still young. No, you brought this kid in. The college football, we're not in the world of college football where quarterbacks sit and wait for 3 or 4 years anymore. Very rarely do they do that, right? Unless you have such a stacked room that you can do that. The expectation is if you pick a kid and you're a top 10 team, like we were last year, the year before, top 15, top 20 team, you pick a kid who's a high 4-star kid, that kid should be able to play in his first 2 years, right? So I'm hoping he takes advantage of this opportunity. I hope the offensive line gives him time to operate. I hope the skill position players can make catches like this. I hope Mike Norvell is willing to take guys off the field if they don't make plays. Because if Morlock is dropping balls, get his ass off the field and put the younger guys in. I'm at the point where I would much rather see the younger guys make consistent mistakes and learn than see a guy who's a redshirt senior on the field making mistakes over and over again because he's not going to be here next year. Guys like Morlock will not be on this team next year because they're out of eligibility. Right? And the thing Mike Norvell stated out there in one of his press conferences is that, we put oars next to many guys' names this week. But then he also said, like, the depth chart doesn't really matter anyway, which I think we all know that. The depth chart is just something that they give the media to, like, cause a story, right? Oh, look, it was DJ or Brock. And then, obviously he was injured, so he wasn't playing. But now it's, Hakeem or Kentron, or Kyle Morlock or Brian Corney or Landon Thomas. Like, I'm 90% sure Kyle Morlock will get starting snaps again, even though he's struggled for the last 5 weeks. Where I'd much rather see Brian Corney and Landon Thomas start, make mistakes, but still have the chance to learn. I mean, Brian Corney's been here for 3 years. If he's not able to make impact plays, why is he still on this football team? Mike, answer me that. Why, if a guy's been here for 3 years and still can't consistently see the field, why is he still here if you don't believe in him? Same with this offensive line, this underperforming offensive line. Bryson Estes, Andre Otto, Jalen Early. I'd much rather see these guys see if they can elevate the performance of this offensive line than see the same damn guys we've seen through 3 or 4 years under deliver and be inconsistent as hell. And that's not just me saying shit about this offensive line underperforming. It's in the statistics. Tomahawk Nation did a great article on grading out from PFF the average grades in run blocking, pass blocking, and their total snaps. And through the season average, you can see how each of the linemen who's played any snap this season, which has been about 12 guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys have gone snaps, albeit 9 of them have gone, Andre Otto and Jalen, Jacob Rizzi. Very few, a lot of, less than 10 total, probably, I would say. So let's say 9 guys, majority of the snaps. None of the guys grade out as a starter in the PFF rankings. Because remember, this is going up to 100, and this is the season average right here at the last column here. None of them grade out to a starter in college football. Except for one, I should say. That's Andre Otto, who's only played 9 snaps, less than 15 snaps, 20 snaps this entire season. So I'm not even going to count that because that's not even enough. Wow, look at, Bryson Estes has played, he played 26 snaps last week and graded out at 37, which is below replacement. If you're below 60, you're replacement level. And how many guys on our team have a replacement level grade? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna, one, two, three, four, and I'm gonna count the 61 to five. So Keandre, Terrence Ferguson, Robert Scott, and Darius Washington have all played below replacement grade this season, according to PFF grades. And a lot of times I'm like, what does PFF grades mean? Da, da, da. But I've seen the performances. None of these linemen are playing in the NFL as far as I see. These aren't NFL ready linemen. I don't even know if they're CFL ready linemen or XFL ready linemen. And the grades match that. The grades say they should be replaced. They're not even backups. So, what is Alex Atkins to do? Where are the depth chart guys that are supposed to be competing for these positions that he's brought in to play on Saturday? Where is Andre out? Why isn't Andre? I'd rather see Andre Allen go out there and get 25 snaps. I know Jalen Early's starting to get some more time. Let's get him in. Bryson's struggled, but he's been here for 4 years. Once again, hell, is Lucas Simmons ready? He's a redshirt freshman. Lucas Simmons is one of your highest rated offensive linemen. You know who's not on this depth chart? Julian Armella. Is he hurt? I haven't heard anything. All I just see him is celebrating on the sidelines from week 1. That's all I've seen of him. He's not even listed on the depth chart. Another highly rated Atkins recruit that never sees the field. So, you could dig into this roster all day and find issues, but for this offense, it's this offensive line. It starts there, and then everything around it, specialists not making plays, and then the quarterback play. But you are changing one thing. The quarterback is changing due to DJ's injury, and now Brock gets to experience the offensive line for himself. So, yeah, we discussed that. So, I had to, I'm kind of roundabout way talking about the team, talking about the matchup. But how do we see this matchup going? I see the spread as it is, 14 and a half points. I think it's going to be more than that, probably be 21, 28 points. The key for Florida State, if they want to keep this close, is that you've got to limit Clemson early. You got to force, and Clemson this year has kind of been more of a passing attack than they were last year. Like I said, Klubnik has, in the last 3 weeks, really started to figure out the passing game. Now, you could say the competition hasn't been the best. Stanford, NC State, Appalachian State. This is true. But they've been hanging points on people. A lot of points on people. And it's a combination of his arm and his ability to make plays with his legs too. I think he's got a couple of 30-yard runs with his legs the last few weeks. And then they balance it out with Phil Maffa, who's been at Clemson now, it feels like, for 3-4+ years. I think he's a senior. Once again, a guy that probably could have went to the league if he wanted to. But this is his kind of year without having to split time as much. And he's effectively running the ball almost 400 yards on 43 carries. And we know the weapon he is. So they have a balanced offensive attack, unlike Florida State at this moment. And so the keys to this game for Florida State is to keep it close early. And how do you do that? Once again, you have to stop the run. And if you believe in your defensive backfield still, you believe in the talent of that room, make Klubnik try to beat you with his arm, even though that's been his best trait so far this year. Because I still think the core of this defense, or the best parts of this defense, are their defensive backs. Then the defensive line, even though it's underperformed. But if you can get Farmer in there to disrupt it on the run and on the pass and force Klubnik to make tough throws, and the linebackers play out of their minds in stopping the run, maybe you get the takeaway. but you're going to have to take some risks on defense. And Alan Fuller's going to do that. That's how you won the game last year with Caleb Deloach making a big time tackle, forcing a fumble or a run back. And I wouldn't expect Fuller's going to take risks, and those risks will probably, sometimes shoot this. They shoot this defense in the foot a lot. Third and Fuller, we see it a lot. But you're going to have to take risks in order to win this game, and so you gotta have to stand back. And those players on this defense multiple people have to stand up, because I've seen the effort from Farmer, but multiple people need to step up on this defense. It can't just be one guy. Patrick Payton needs to show that he wants to be a first or second round guy, because right now I don't see it. And I don't think scouts see it. If you read any articles out there, I think he's losing himself a lot of money. Darrell Jackson too. Everyone talked about preseason how he's a freak athlete, Once again, I think it's another guy who's losing himself money if he doesn't start performing. And that doesn't mean winning the game, but it means making disruptive plays consistently. There's not enough people making disruptive plays on this defense consistently. For the last 2 weeks, I will give them credit. Last week, they put Florida State in position to win that SMU game. It's just the offense hasn't been married with them. But this is the toughest, most balanced team they'll face, in my opinion, all season. This is the first ranked opponent this defense will face all season in Clemson. So this is when you need that defense to actually really step up and play their best game. Now, on the offense, it can't just be all about the defense. The offense has to cash in when they have the opportunity. Short field, get in second and short situations, and it starts with having a balanced attack. Brock's going to have to use his legs when he has the opportunity to. You don't want to put yourselves in 3rd and 10s, 3rd and longs. You can't afford to do that. So whatever it takes to get to 2nd and short, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, that's what you have to do. And Florida State has to find a way to get some semblance of a run game. Because if Clemson is allowed to crash the line and cheat up the entire game and press our specialists and press the line of scrimmage, this game's over in the first half, in the first quarter maybe. Florida State has to find some way to make them respect the running attack of Florida State. And I don't think it's going to work if you just wildcat it all day, because then that tells Clemson that they don't respect the throwing attack or Brockman's ability to throw the ball across the field. So this offensive line, they have to, I don't know what can be done, but unlike the last 3 weeks, or basically this entire season outside of Cal in the first half, I would say, they have to find ways to find 4 to 5 yard chunk run plays. Because I don't expect this offense to become suddenly explosive against Clemson, where it hasn't been explosive the entire season. But against SMU, you did see some of those chunk plays. You saw the ability to hit, the seam or the slant, and things were chugging along. You only scored 9 points in the first half, but opportunities were there. Little plays were being made. But you have to cash in when you get on their side of the field. Whether it be 3 or 7, you have to not allow yourself to get in the big hole. Because that kills the defense. That kills the spirits of the defense. And as you saw last week, this offense has to find a way to keep the defense off the field, burn some clock, and then cash in. Eat up as much clock as you can. Kind of like what Georgia Tech did against Florida State in the first game. Eat up a ton of clock, sustain a long drive, and then get points at the end of it. That's how you beat a good team. That's how Georgia Tech beat this team and killed its momentum by limiting the amount of drives we had, keeping playmakers, what we thought were playmakers, off the field, and then cashing in on those long drives. That's how you beat Clemson. Take their skilled position players off the field. Take the receivers, these skilled position receivers on their team, because this Clemson team is far more talented, in my opinion, than Florida State. You look at Bryant Westco Jr., the freshman. People compare him to Sammy Watkins and the yardage he's put up in his first 4 career games. TJ Moore they like, Antonio Williams we know is great, and then they have Brennan Sewell, their tight end. I mean, a wide receiver group that, unlike Florida State's, is making play. Multiple guys are making plays consistently for this team. So you can't just shut down one guy. So how do you limit that? You keep them off the field as much as possible by eating up clock. But the only way you do that is if you have some semblance of a rushing attack and some semblance of balance. Now, do I think that's going to be easy? Nope. Nope. I mean, it wasn't easy last year, and I don't expect it to be easy this year. I mean, that defensive line for Clemson is experienced, and with TJ Parker and those guys, he's got 3 sacks already this year. Peter Woods, he's missed a couple of games, but he may be back. And he's a real big player for them. But this is a defensive line that has big time players, and they're not giving, they have big time players, but if Peter Woods isn't able to play, that's an opportunity for Florida State to potentially attack that side of the field. And when we look at their linebackers, I mean, we talk about guys being there forever. They still have Barrett Carter and Wade Woodaz, and Florida State I thought had good linebacking play with Kalen DeLoach with what Lundy did and Bethune, especially Bethune and DeLoach. I mean, Clemson brings back their guys who are good plus players, experienced players who, we always know Clemson has very good linebackers, right? And it's the same thing this year. These guys have been around, they know what they're doing, and they like the young guys they have, and Sammy Brown, who's also a guy that gets a lot of reps. So it's tough. It's going to be tough for this offense, especially they're going to try to bait Brock into some throws. They feel like, and you read articles out there on Clemson and what they like to do. I think they have one of the best defensive backfields too in the country, if not the entire ACC. I think they've only given up 5 touchdowns through the air, and 2 or 3 of those were against Georgia, which we know was a blowout. And that's the thing, you can't look at the Georgia game against Clemson and say, well, there's some things to expose there. Georgia's one of the top 3 most elite teams in the country. You saw the battle they had, the war they had with Alabama last weekend. So I kind of write that game off because there's nothing Florida State fans, I think, can learn from that game. The Clemson versus Georgia game. What you can take is the last 3 games that Clemson's done and how they played. And these defensive backs, like I said, against those teams, have only given up 3 touchdowns altogether. It's going to be tough for a new quarterback coming in to try to attack those defensive backs through the air when this offense has struggled so far to score touchdowns through the air as well. This is a matchup of 2 complete opposites meeting right now. This is Clemson, who's locked in defensively, has an offense that has an identity, knows what they want to do, and does it well. And this is a Florida State team that has an offense that has an identity crisis, a new quarterback, and is not doing anything right. It has 0 explosion. And that's why, I'm scared that this game could get out of control quickly if we don't do those key things I just talked about. Because those things I talked about, we haven't proven we can do all season, much be it against one of the top teams in the country in Clemson. So yeah, I don't want to regurgitate any of these points. Like I said, I think this will be a 21-point game, 21-plus point game for Clemson. And I think they're gonna. I think Dabo will try to put it on Mike. He brings up that how Florida State opted out of the COVID year game. We know Dabo. I don't enjoy Dabo. I don't like Dabo. I don't like Clemson. But you're running into what seems to be a buzzsaw at the moment. And you are and there doesn't seem anything you can do to stop it right now. But the bright side is that we get to see a new player at quarterback and hopefully he'll show us something that can show growth. Because, like I said, I don't expect him to save the day for Florida State, and that would be because that would be too big of an expectation for Brock. But show us growth, Brock. Show us the ability to make plays like we haven't seen all season. Show us you have the vision, and show us you can be the foundation of this football team moving forward. Because I don't want to go into the portal again. Hell, they're talking about DJU getting a 6th year of eligibility. Applying for a medical redshirt. I mean, it would be tough because he's already, gone past that limit of 4 games into the 5th. But there is, I mean, you see what Cam Rising and the McCormick at Miami going into like his 9th year or something like that. Um, DJ could get a 6th year. I want to see is it the quarterback? Is it the offense? Is it the offensive line? Is the play calling? What is the issue? Is it a new guy in there? Will it make a difference for us? Or do we actually need to go out there and get a new quarterback? Because I'm sick of playing quarterback roulette. And at this point, I don't really trust Mike Norvell's evaluation of quarterbacks anymore, based on the guys he's brought in the past. You can go back to Mackenzie Milton his first year, transfer quarterback. We know how that turned out. Tate Rodemaker, AJ Duffy, Brock Purdy. I mean, none of these have worked out. The question is, can Brock Glenn, can Luke, can one of or even Trevor Jack, can one of these guys work out? And I just want to have Brock show me some sign of growth and development in this game. Just something, because good luck to DJU. I hope he gets, if he gets a 6th year, I hope he does. And goes somewhere and succeeds, because I don't want to see anyone struggling on Florida State. And he struggled. So I wish him the best in his journey. But we have to move forward too. And I hope Brock can show us that he can be the leader of this football team. And I hope this team will rally around him and help him make catches, make plays in the open field, run a defensive back over. Effort, 4 quarters of effort. I don't care if the game is 45-0. Show effort for 4 quarters. That's all we ask of you. 4 quarters of effort. I don't think that's too much to ask. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So, yeah, that's going to do it for me. Let me know in the comments below what you think the score is going to be on Saturday evening, 7 p.m. I believe. I think ESPN. It'll be on 7 p.m. So, yeah, don't whether you watch it live or on demand, I don't blame you either way, because I wouldn't want to give up my Saturday night to watch this game, honestly. 1-4 team against a top 15 Clemson. But regardless, watch it. What do you think your predictions are going to be for Saturday? And yeah, join us for a post-game reaction probably on Sunday, maybe Saturday night. But the old man will be back. We'll be discussing the game, obviously. And it'll really be about, what did we learn? What did we learn about this team? Who showed up? Who didn't? Who gave the most effort? And what can we build around going into the next week? So thank you guys again. We appreciate the support. Appreciate you being here. I hope you all stay safe. If you are in the South and you're affected by the hurricane, once again, still praying for you guys, hoping you get the assistance you need. And please stay safe out there. Anyone affected by that, if you all have family, praying for you guys. And I hope you guys can get the assistance that you all need. So, but yeah, please enjoy. If you can, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will speak soon. Have a great day, and we will see you later. Bye-bye, y'all.